What's up everybody, it's your boy AJ and welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. What the hell is this stuff? Yeah, I know, it's that stuff that we use to buy things. But have you ever actually thought to yourself what really is money and how it actually works in this day and age? Well, have no fear, the money man is here. Oh god, that was so lame, but still, never mind. We use money every day, at the very least we should know what it is. To really get to the nuts and bolts of just what money was and what it is today, you have to go all the way back to when the barter system was in place. Now the barter system basically was just a way of saying, okay, I want this pint of milk that you're offering, I will trade you, say, a chicken for this pint of milk. It was a method of exchange to say, I will give you this for that. There was no giving of money, there was no pricing or anything, it was literally just saying, I'll trade you what I have in exchange for what you have. Eventually as society started to grow, this whole system of exchanging was just much more difficult to sustain. That is when the United States decided to get involved and implement what's called the gold standard. Having things backed by gold meant that you could value everything with one standard unit. It's basically the same as having everyone all of a sudden speaking the same language. So now if you wanted to sell your pint of milk, you could put a set price on it. You could say, I will sell you this pint of milk in exchange for 1 ounce of gold. And the customer will understand what you mean. So everyone is speaking the same language all of a sudden and there's no need to barter. Now the issue with that is that you would have to have been carrying around a wallet full of gold in order to buy what you needed in your daily lives, and I don't know how many of you have dealt with gold trading before, but gold is heavy. That's when the US government decided to say, well, you can put your gold in a bank, your bank will give you a gold certificate, and you can use that to buy things instead. And that was the very start of live money in circulation, live paper money in circulation. So if you wanted to buy a pint of milk from a farmer that cost 1 ounce of gold, you could either give the farmer a solid piece of 1 ounce of gold, or you could give him a gold certificate worth 1 ounce of gold. Pretty simple so far, right? So this whole system worked really well actually, until we experienced the stock market crash of 1913. Well, I say we experienced. I wasn't even around at the time. I wasn't even born at the time. I'm not even American. But y'all know what I mean. So, yeah. Big up. Anyway, let's carry on. The stock market crashed almost 50% in just a few weeks. So people started going to the banks wanting to withdraw their gold because they were scared that the banks would go bankrupt and their gold would disappear forever. And you can't blame them. I'd do exactly the same if I was in their position. Remember how the banks work. They will take your deposits as funds and then invest those funds to make a profit, so they need your money to survive. Without you, the people, these banks are nothing. But when the stock market crash happened, and there were inevitable runs on the bank, meaning people simultaneously were withdrawing all their funds, all their gold deposits, this ironically led to a lot of banks going bankrupt. No pun intended, that's just what happened. After this happened, that's when the United States government decided to get involved with the regulation of money a hell of a lot more. So they created what's called the Federal Reserve, or referred to as the Fed, in order to prevent this happening again in 1913. Oh, more levels of governments. Whoopee-doo. Happy days. More bureaucracy all round, even in those days. Bloody hellfire. The first big change these guys implemented to prevent this happening again was saying, okay, you can no longer use gold to buy things. You can only use this paper thing called money, which is backed by gold. That is what you need to use in order to buy things. No big deal, right? That just means that if you wanted to buy a pint of milk, which was equivalent to 1 ounce of gold, 1 ounce of gold was equivalent to $1. $1 would buy you 1 pint of milk. Simples. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. Simples. Because it's not really. Because of all this printing of money, things started to go up in price. Everything became more expensive because the dollar was just so weak. Hell, never mind back then, we're seeing it right now. Inflation. Going all the way through the roof. Crazy levels, crazy numbers. Now don't forget, despite this story being based in America, this is a global situation here. It's not just America that uses US dollars. Several countries back then and today use US dollars. And you can imagine that they are suddenly seeing all this printing of money hand over fist and seeing that their dollars are now worthless. Other countries that use the US dollar became fed up of all this printing of money, and they suddenly turned around to the US government and said, we want to swap you all these dollars for gold now. Now, Richard Nixon was the president at the time when all of this was going on, and he had to do something drastic in order to stop all this noise and stop all these demands for gold deposits, because the United States was quite literally on the verge of bankruptcy. Well, lo and behold, Richard Nixon did just that. I mean, it was a disappointment in many different areas, but yeah, for me, this is probably greater than Watergate. In 1971, Richard Nixon made one of the most dramatic changes to US monetary policy in history. I don't think it's been rivaled to this day. He took the United States off of the gold standard. So all you other countries using the US dollar wanting to change them for gold? I'm sorry, bruv, but you can't have it. This means that your dollars, or in my case, now, these pound notes, they're no longer backed by gold. These are just bits of paper. When the Fed was on the gold standard, if they wanted to create new money, they had to be very careful and cautious, because they would have had to have made sure they had enough gold in their coffers to support the new money. So if you wanted to create new money, you had to go out there and make sure you got some more gold. But now the US dollar and my UK pound notes, there's no true value there. There's no intrinsic value there besides the artificial value that society's given these bits of paper. And they are just bits of paper. The only reason we can go out there and spend it to buy things is because of that artificial value that we've given to these bits of paper. Gold and other forms of precious metals have value because they're limited, they're tangible, and they're used nowadays in pretty much every single electrical circuit you can find. Real estate as well has value because people need roofs over their head and places to sleep at night. But money? Money is just paper. There's no real value behind this stuff anymore. The only reason this £20 note is worth £20 is because, well, that's what society says it's worth. And don't forget, we are still living in a post-gold standard era. Governments are literally printing money hand over fist here, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic. There's no real value there anymore. Remember what I said about inflation? As you start printing more, everything goes up in price. And that's what we're seeing in the world today. Everything is becoming way more expensive than it was 10 years ago. So here's the grand question for all of you guys. Will there come a point where there is too much money out there, too much printed money out there? And what happens when people rise up and realize that their money is worthless because it's not attached to anything and they can't get any value out of it, meaning that they're more or less going to be left skin broke? Let me know, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. This is yet another reason why it's so important to understand how to invest your money and how to put it to work instead of just keeping it in a bank account. Granted, you've got to have some saved away for a rainy day fund, but where you can put money to work, put it to work in getting the assets that you need to protect yourself against this kind of insane hyperinflation that we're seeing, not just now, but what many economists are forecasting to happen into the future as well, well into the future. One of the best examples I can give, and something that I'm actually doing right now, is buying gold. For example, if you buy 1 ounce worth of gold at $1, but then with hyperinflation within the next year it goes up to 1 ounce of gold for $5, you are protected. You are protected. You're hedging yourself against this hyperinflation because your gold, your asset, is now worth more according to all this printing of money. So you got to make sure that you stay protected, keep yourself insured, and that you stay secure with this kind of hyperinflation that we're going to see now into the future. Thank you all for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe down below. I'd love to see as many of you hit that thumbs up button as possible, and let me know in the comments, what steps are you taking to protect yourself with this hyperinflation and how you're hedging your bets with all this printing of money. I'd love to interact with as many of you as possible. And as always, keep hustling, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all real soon. Take care. Peace.